Well, all right. How is everyone doing out there? It is Thursday, the 5th of January, 2023. It's about 2:30 p.m. or 14:30 for the military folks here in Central Time in Alabama. And Happy New Year to everyone out there. So like I said, it's a Thursday. That means it's Hunt the Good Stuff Thursday. It's the very first Hunt the Good Stuff Thursday of 2023. And it is about, just Sunday will make 8 weeks, I believe, since Janet passed away. And hopefully I can get through this without all the allergies coming in, because there are still quite a few triggers. But as it's Hunt the Good Stuff Thursday, I was thinking about, how I was actually grateful to be able to go through, an opportunity to go through something like this, because it's challenging. There's definitely some blessings to be able to go through it. And if you have to live through grief and sorrow and loss and go through all those stages, I don't know if it's better to just, like a Band-Aid, just tear it off, like if you had to go through somebody that was killed in a car accident, for instance, because you have a lot of shock and awe with that, or the long drawn out version. And I'm choosing, because it's Hunt the Good Stuff Thursday, I'm choosing to look at it on the bright side of that. We knew that the possibility was coming. I've watched a couple other people that are watching or going through some of this stuff, and they're in the early stages and they're still relatively healthy. And so I think when we got that word, we were a little bit in denial. I don't know if denial is the right word, but we were pretty confident that we were going to beat this. And we did a good job. I mean, the doctors early on were saying, hey, you got 6 months, and we made it 18 months. And all the way until the very end, Janet was a trooper. I don't know what it would have been like, if it were me, but I was amazed how she was able to maneuver her way through all that stuff and still do everyday activities. And so that was one of the things that I think that I would look at, is if there is a silver lining in something like this, is that you really are given the opportunity to live like you're dying. That Tim McGraw song was one of our favorites before that, but after we got the word, we really took it to heart. So if you go back and you watch the Celebration of Life service, I talked about that, and I talked about a couple other songs. But in that song in particular, we took advantage of things that maybe we would not have done if we didn't have a diagnosis or anything. And I watched some of those other blogs, and they're going through that same type of thing, just keep working, just keep doing all that stuff. And that's a good technique. I would just recommend, and even if you're not sick, when you have an opportunity to make a good memory, take advantage of those opportunities and go try it out. Like in the Tim McGraw song, Ride a Bull Named Fu Manchu. So we didn't go ride bulls, but we did go to a rodeo and watch bull riding, which she hadn't done coming from the Philippines. So that was kind of cool to be able to share that experience. And we didn't get to go skydiving, but when we were down in Florida, we saw a parasail and we jumped on that. So we made an appointment and we went parasailing. And so she tackled one of her fears and crossed some of those things off of her list. So we did try to balance everyday life, with school, work, everyday type of things that's going on. So that was how we tried to balance that out. And like I said, hunting the good stuff was that we were able to look at that and realize how priceless those opportunities really would be potentially. Another item that goes along with hunting the good stuff ties in with gratitude. So like I said, there is a lot of learning that goes along with when someone has to go through this type of stuff. And if you were to look at grief and loss and guilt and all those things as a tunnel, the light at the end of the tunnel could potentially be like a post-traumatic growth, meaning that I've been exposed to some things that I either hadn't been exposed to, or I didn't deal very well with them when I was exposed to them the first time. So I've had time to look at some things on how to work through things like the other stages of grief. You know, grief, loss is a big one for me. Guilt is another big one. Denial, we already sort of talked about that one, that, yeah, she's not really going to die, or, yeah, we're going to beat this. But I don't want to say denial is that there wasn't hope, because there was definitely lots of hope, and we definitely kept trying a lot of different things. Part of the guilt comes in because towards the end, I sort of felt like if we were going to jump into hospice, that was giving up. And I think if I were to ever do that again or recommend somebody about that, I would say get into hospice as early as you can, because that really helps, gives you opportunities and enables you to have access to things without having to run to the hospital every time or run to an emergency room or do lots of things like that. And you're already kind of used to the people and familiar with all this type of thing. So we were only on hospice. We didn't even make it really, I don't think it was 2 weeks before she, passed away. And I think that if I could have been into that at least a month before, maybe even 6 weeks into that. And who knows, that could have possibly maybe extend some stuff. So, that goes back to that whole dilemma, some of the guilt type of stuff, all that kind of thing. And it's hard to be able to tell, where all that comes out. So it's not really denial, I guess, but learning to deal with the different emotions and the choices on how I react to them. That's still a challenge, I think. I'm frustrated because, like, when do the allergies come? You'll see triggers come in and things like that. So my phone is full, so I'm using another phone. So what I was talking about, when you get through that tunnel of grief, I'm pretty convinced that when I finally get out, I'm going to have post-traumatic growth. So I guess we'll see how well that turns out. I have no idea how long that's going to take and if it's even possible. But I am realizing a certain level of gratitude of the learning process. So another thing that I had mentioned in the celebration of life is that I do feel like the gratitude of learning is worth the cost of the pain. And I'm glad that I'm being able to learn some of this stuff. And other things on gratitude is, this is where you really find out who your real friends are and who those that support you, and kind of where that line between friend and acquaintance kind of is. And there's probably a lot of different ways on how you could define friends and stuff like that, because I'm sure there's a lot of friends out there that are confused just as much as I am and not sure how or what they can do. But for me anyway, I think the best things I've appreciated is just people reaching out and just checking in, really. I mean, I don't know that there's a ton of stuff that I really need or that they really can do for me. Maybe that's still some of the stuff that I need to answer for myself. But just the fact that that I'm on their radar, it does mean a lot. But anyway, I don't know how long this is going to be. Hopefully it's not too long. But one of the things, since it's the very first Hunt the Good Stuff Thursday, we always talk about it. And I still keep saying that I'm going to go back to the beginning of when Janet was diagnosed and start pulling those videos out and pulling them together and see if I can post them. And then that might make more sense when you get to the videos of the beginning of the end, where I realized where, oh man, this is getting serious. This is really, I feel part of the guilt is I almost, I wanted the pain and the discomfort for her to end. And see, it comes back. I didn't want this to be this kind of a way, but anyway. But since this is the very first Hunt the Good Stuff Thursday of 2023, recently on Facebook, I saw one of those little pictures that will say, hey, take a note, once a week, write the good thing that happens that week and put it in a jar. And then when you get towards New Year's, pull those things out and read those back. But to caveat that with Hunt the Good Stuff, for those that aren't aware of, Hunt the Good Stuff is part of the Army's, and maybe it's the military's, resiliency training. So some people will misinterpret Hunt the Good Stuff as just that the glass is half full. But the biggest difference between that is just learning to realize the impact that you would have for it. So hunting the good stuff, what the other intent of it is to help rewire and train your brain to combat the negativity bias. Because we are most likely wired to look at the negative side of things. Sometimes it's a protective factor, you know. Some people will look at that, especially parents and other loved ones will look at those type of things and they'll fall into the joy thief category. But hunting the good stuff is recognizing something good. Some of the things, for instance, that I did is I noticed, like tonight is a full moon, or I don't know if it's a full moon, but it's a very pretty full moon. The stars in the skies, you know, the flowers, the birds, all those types of things, the sunsets, they seem so much more special now. So what are some of the things that I can do to recognize those things is I can take a little break. I've got a timer on my watch that says, hey, it's 10 minutes till sunset. So sometimes I'll look out there and I'll see, oh, wow, this is probably going to be a good sunset. So I'll take a little bit of a break and I'll watch the sunset. Like tonight with the sky being clear and the moon is so bright, sometimes it doesn't really look real. You know, just taking that little bit of time to notice those things. So those are some of the events. Some of the things I've talked about, you know, recognizing that, yeah, going through a situation like this could really suck. And it did in a lot of ways. But there are some bright sides in there, you know, like, hey, I get an opportunity to learn some stuff that I'm not good at. And I learned how to deal with some things that, you know, how to deal with and tackle emotions and things like that I probably would just tuck away and ignore, and I wouldn't attack those or recognize, or with the pain and the grief, I wouldn't you know, accept it or recognize that it's there. And the things that it would do to me sometimes, you know, how sometimes it makes me angry, and sometimes maybe I'll take that out on other people. So hunting the good stuff, like I said, it's a military thing. It's part of the military's resiliency training, but it's more than just the glass is half full. It helps you rewire your brain to tackle the negativity bias. But some of the benefits of that also is that once you kind of get looking at some different sides of things, it gives you mental agility. Like when I used to teach, this was a good example that I used to like, where you get the young battle captain that runs into the TOC, which is a tactical operating center, and tells the S3 or whoever's in charge, is like, sir, we're surrounded. Everything is such a bad thing. We're surrounded by the enemy. And the quick thinking, mental, agile, hunting the good stuff type of a leader says, oh, that's awesome. Then we can attack from any side. So rather than being lost, you can take the fight to them and you don't have to worry about what's the smartest way. Just go at any side. So those are some of the things that I thought were good. But having mental agility gives you possibly different ways to look at things that cause friction. And probably one of the most positive things is it does help create a more positive outlook. And one of the best protective factors that you can have when it comes to resiliency and being able to handle stress and things like that is to have a good foundation, a good friend base, support base. And when you are more positive and you have better outlooks, you are more attractive to people to support you than when you're always negative, and that kind of thing. So you can look at friction differently, but the bottom line is it just really helps build up a lot of protective factors. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. I hope y'all have a very great, very first Hunt the Good Stuff Thursday of 2023. And for Reagan's benefit, dubs up, dubs up. Here we go. Take care. Love you. Bye.